Hi guys, welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you are fantastically well and having a really great day. So today is another stash buster. You know what's coming at you. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Karen and I am doing a stash buster series for quilts. Last time we actually did stash buster 1 and that was on scrappy quilts. I know I have not revealed the final look of the quilt. I am still quilting it. So as soon as it's completed, I shall let you know and show you that final reveal. And I will let you know that as well. So I'm going to put a link in the description box for all of those videos for that scrappy on point quilt. Okay, so moving on to the next one is Stash Buster series 2, and we are moving on to pre-cuts. Yay! I so love jelly rolls. They are absolutely fantastic. And you know what? The greatest thing about them is that all the cuts have been done for you, and all of those color saturations and matching it and contrasting it has been done for you. So today's quilt, of course, it's going to be a jelly roll. So let's get right into it. In fact, let me tease you by showing you this quilt. So it's right here next to me. Absolutely fantastic. Now, this quilt is called a bricks quilt. So that is the name of this quilt. It's a jelly roll bricks quilt. And as you can see, I'm just going to hold it up in front of the screen. I'm going to disappear. So you can actually see all of those bricks. So it's not going to take long. It's literally a weekend quilt. So let me show you how I actually made this quilt. So let's get right into it. Okay, let me show you how to make this really easy block. All we need is our background fabric. Now you can choose any color for your background fabric. I have decided to use white on white, so white spots on white fabric. Okay, and I have cut them into 8 inches long and 4 inches in width. All right, so that is my background fabric. So I'm going to stack those aside. And for my jelly roll, you can lay them out in your colored formations that you want, and you're going to lay them out front sides together, so on top of each other. Okay, and you are going to cut 8 inches in length. All right, so that's is literally just 2 sets of cuts that you're going to do. So once you have cut them front sides together, you simply take them over to the sewing machine and stitch these 2 together. So this is your 2 together, stitched together here. Okay, very easy, quick block to make. Once you've done that, then you add your strip on. Now you can add your strip of background fabric onto any side. That's entirely down to you. It doesn't really matter because we are going to really form the bricks using the background fabric, and you're going to see how it's actually layered out. All right, so any size that you want, any side that you want to stitch it onto. So if you know you've got say 3 of the 2 jelly rolls together of the same color, I will then alternate. So I will then put the background fabric on this side, and then the other one I'll put it on this side, but obviously we will move it around within the formation or the layout of the quilt so that they're not close to each other. So I'll leave that up to you. Once you've done that, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so it looks like that simply, and your block should literally turn out to be 8 inches squared. So quite simple. So we're going to need 20 blocks in total. So it's going to be a really fast, simple, beautiful jelly roll brick quilt. So let's get started on that right now, and we will get it all completed. Now it doesn't take long to stitch together and to even cut, so you can stack them up and cut them as quickly as you can. It's entirely down to you how quickly you move, but it is a very quick quilt. I will actually call this a weekend quilt basically. So let's get on to that right now, and we will get the bricks compiled. Okay, so let's do some stitching very quickly so that you understand what I'm doing. So front sides together with all of your stack of jelly rolls, and you're going to use your 1/4 inch seam as normal. Now it's up to you if you want to stop after stitching all of the jelly rolls together and iron. Is entirely down to you, but I'm not going to worry with that. I'm just going to continue making all of the jelly roll bricks together, and you can chain piece these so that it goes a lot more quickly. This literally is a very quick weekend quilt, so I hope you will enjoy these stash busters that we're doing. Very quick, beautiful jelly roll quilts. So let's get into that. So stitch this down together. Right, I'm going to cut that out so that you know what I'm talking about. Clip that apart and open up and put on the side. So finger press to one side, obviously the darker side, whichever is the darkest on your particular jelly rolls, and I'm going to choose the blue side for this. I'm going to put it front sides together, make sure I have that front sides together. It's so light you can't see it. Right, and again make sure it's all lined up. 1/4 inch seam again, and that's literally it. And you could also chain piece this well. I just would not add, because now I have my jelly roll strip with red and blue together. The last one was blue and brown, so I will just simply add on my strip of background fabric onto the red, and again continue. This is a lovely beginner's quilt. Simple, easy, but it's going to look absolutely beautiful. And sometimes having a nice quick quilt is ideal, because not all the time you want something that's going to take up a lot of your time. So, and I'm going to use the pink side for this one. So literally, you can, even if you've got strips of fabric, you can make it into a scrappy quilt also. So you have options. I'm just going to line that up together. Right, so once you've done all of those, what you need to do now is simply cut them, open it out, and again lay the seams at the back towards the darker fabric. So we don't want the seams going towards the light. So let's go over to the ironing board, get all of these ironed, and then I will come and show you how to lay out these bricks. Okay, so let's set the seams on the back first. No steam at the moment. And then turn it over and really pull the seams apart so that it lays really nice and flat. And obviously you can add steam to it. So it's really, so you have your seams going outer, okay, at the back, and all of the seams, the fabric is really stretched out so that there is no creases. Just stack them there. That's it basically. So it's very quick and easy to make up our bricks. So again, lay it flat, and notice how I'm pulling it there so that I actually stretch out those creases, those seams in between, so that it lays really beautiful. Very quick block. You will need obviously a jelly roll for this, and as well as your backing fabric, and the amount of backing fabric you would need is 1 yard, because we're going to use some of the backing fabric for our borders. Now if you wanted to make the quilt much bigger and go to more than 20 blocks, so let's say 35, you're more than welcome to do so. At the end of the day, it is your quilt. Set your seams again, and then over, really stretch those creases apart the seams apart so it lays nice and flat. Yeah, so you can go to 35 for your blocks and make a really beautiful large quilt. So if you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you know when another one is uploaded, and I shall be really pleased with that. It's really nice when you give me your feedback and let me know if you enjoyed my videos or not, and you know, changes that you would like to actually see that happens on the channel. So really great to hear your opinion, as it is highly valued. So let's keep doing that. Again, set the seams. Don't forget to do that. It's really important, as you know. Nice and flat. And again, open it out and really stretch it. You want it to be really lovely and flat. So we are going to use some of the jelly rolls to make our borders, as well as the backing fabric. All right, or background fabric, I should say. So the next thing we're going to do now is lay these out and then stitch them together. So it comes together very quickly, this quilt top. It is literally a weekend quilt. Something you want to make very quickly and looks really lovely. This is the quilt for you. So your quilt size, sorry, not your quilt size, your block size should turn out to be 8 inches. Now if you need to square it down because you may have little peaks somewhere not measured incorrectly, by all means trim them down, but ideally you should literally get an 8-inch block. Okay, so let's go lay these all out now, and then we will know how to stitch them together. Alright, so the blocks are all now pieced together and I have laid them out. So I'm just going to go through with you how it's actually laid out. So you have your jelly roll on top and your background fabric at the bottom, and then you alternate. I have made 35 blocks altogether, so it's 5 rows alternated, and then you start your second row in the middle of the 2 first blocks. So you will have 5, 4, 5, 4. Okay, and that's how it's actually laid out, so you can get the brick effect. Now to close up the last corners here to make it a square quilt, because I made 35, I'm going to take 3 and fill in these areas to the end over there, there and there, and obviously on this side here and this side here. So my 3 from the same block of 35, or the set of 35, cut them in half, and then you fit it in on the edge. Okay, so obviously these are not stitched together, so that's the way it will actually sit. So it fills up the whole top to make the actual block. So don't lay it like that, lay it upside down, so the white against the jelly roll there and the jelly roll against the background. Okay, so you'll do that for all of them, and then you can mix them up as much as you want. You can change around to whatever you wanted to add the end of the bricks to be. It's entirely down to you. So adding this end, and there's one more over on the corner up here. Okay, so that's it. So I'll just give you a distant look so you can see what it actually looks like. So what I'm going to do now is just stitch it all together, add a border, and then I would actually baste and quilt it and show you the completed look. I'm also going to use some of the jelly rolls that left over to do the binding. Now you can, if you want, use your jelly rolls that's left over as a border. It's entirely down to you. Or I'm just going to use a white solid fabric Okay, you could use a white solid fabric and do a 2-inch border and then do your jelly roll again and at the outside of that, so you have 2 borders. So you'll have your 2-inch border and then you will have your 2.5-inch for your jelly roll. And then you can actually bind it as well. So it's up to you. So you can use your jelly rolls as a strip binding, and then or you can use a white solid just as your border, or a white binding for your quilt top once it's obviously basted. So let's continue with that and I'll see you in a moment. Okay guys, so I have put on my first border, which is 2.5 inches, and I've also put on a 3-inch border around the quilt as well. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is to add a border to the top, and so I am going to mix my borders. So I have my 3-inch strip here, and I'm going to use the similar fabric that's on the edge of the quilt for the final border. I've used a 2-inch, as I said. Obviously this is not the jelly roll. I decided I was going to save the rest of the jelly roll for another project, and I'm just going to use some of my stash to complete the border. So just get this back nice and flat. So there, I'm going to use up this color here that's already on the borders, and so I have added on another different blue here, so an aqua and a navy. So what I've done is ironed it so that I can find the center point, and I'm going to find the center point of my quilt top. So I'm just going to measure it edge to edge and just crease it there so that I know it's nicely centered. Open it back out, take my border that's also creased, and I put in both crease center on top of each other so that it's nice and flat. Lay all out. I'm not stretching it, I'm just making sure it lays really flat on the quilt top, and just teasing it so that everything is equated properly. And then I'm going to pin. So once I've pinned this and stitched it all on, then I'm going to baste it and quilt, and you will see the final quilt and what it actually looks like. Now I will put a pattern down for you in the description box, and so that way you can know all the measurements, etc., all the sizes that I actually use to make this jelly roll brick quilt. It's coming together really nicely actually. I'm loving the colors. So what I'm going to do now is just cut off the extra. So what I'm going to do is just bring it closer to me and I'll fold back the extra in line with the actual border, and do the same thing. Just crease it so that I know exactly where to cut, and simply just cut it on that particular line. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to stretch it, so that it matches up nicely there and it lays nice and flat. And I do the same thing, fold it back, make sure the top border is in line with the full length border. So I've put on the border for the longest side of the quilt first, and then I put on the top border after. It's entirely up to you which side you put on first. It doesn't really make a huge difference to anything. Okay, so that's done. So what I'm going to do now is simply just go and stitch it all on, and then I will show you the completed quilted quilt. quilt top is ready. Hooray! It is stitched together really, really beautifully and nicely. You can actually see the brickwork within the quilt, and the hot pink looks fantastically well. Everything blends in really nicely. All of the color saturations are really good, and everything just works really well. It didn't take long to make. This quilt is actually a weekend quilt, guys. I tell you no lie, I made this over the weekend. And so it's a jelly roll bricks quilt, if you've forgotten what you're actually looking at. And I did very simplistic quilting. I did some swirls, as you can see there. You know, I didn't really want to play around and to do quilting within the bricks themselves, because obviously that will take much longer. But if you feel the need to do that, then by all means you can do that. Obviously you'll show off different quilting patterns in each quilt. But one of the other reasons why I chose a all over pattern is because sometimes it makes the quilt so soft, and as you can see, the swirls are not dense, so they're large, and the quilt lays really flawlessly in the sense that it flows. It's a really soft quilt in that sense, because the stitches of the quilt were slightly apart, and that obviously makes the quilting itself, or the quilt, a lot more softer. But yeah, it stitched together very quickly. What I did also do, I don't know if you can actually notice, but I used different saturations in terms of white. So for example, those there was a white on white spot, so the white spot on white, and then just slightly above, I don't know if you can notice, the color's different. Yeah, and so I just wanted to highlight the blocks slightly different. So it's not white, but sort of an off-white color. It's not bright. So, and then again on the borders, I went back to white again. So you can see the difference there, all three of them there. And on the borders, I actually did a 3-inch border all the way around, but I also did a piece border as well. So on the length of the quilt, I did this particular blue here, but when I went to the top, as you can see, it's piece there. So I did a lighter color of the border, same blue, same color saturation that picks up within the quilt, so nothing was lost really. But then I stayed with that sort of smaller piece in the middle of there, which worked out really nicely, and I loved the way it looked. So everything really complemented each other. On the board, on the binding, I did some embroidery. Now guys, if you wanted to do embroidery for yours, I would say this does take some time. I think this was the most lengthiest process of the actual making of the quilt, putting on that embroidery. So you know, it's up to you if you wanted to do it. To be honest, it looks good. I do like it. I will be honest about that. I do like it, but I just feel that it was really time consuming doing it that particular way. So I probably wouldn't do that again unless I really, really love the person I'm making the quilt for. But it was really time consuming, and I sort of regretted doing it because I just felt it was slowing me down. And I will just go back to my normal binding method, which is a straight machine stitch. I mean, I don't have a lot of time to sit and do the binding in that particular way, in terms of doing an embroidery, stitching on it. It looked beautiful, don't get me wrong, it really is nice, but I probably won't do that again. For the thread itself, I use a glossy white on it. I didn't just stick to a normal cotton, I did a glossy white, so that really showed up nicely as well. I loved it. The overall experience of the quilt, beautiful, fast, quick and simple. That's literally how I would sum it up. So if you're looking for a weekend quilt, you know, look at this jelly roll bricks quilt. It's absolutely lovely, and the colors for your jelly roll, I'm sure is going to lay off really nicely. I'm just loving the hot pink on this. It just, everything all the colors just beautiful laid out together. I can't carry on enough about the colors. Really nicely. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course hit that notification bell, and I shall see you next week. Bye for now, and guys, of course, happy quilting. Bye bye.